Hello and welcome to the programme. 58 people are now presumed dead in the Grenfell Tower fire in West London, and police are warning the death toll is still likely to rise. The BBC understands the number of dead or missing could be around 70. The British Prime Minister Theresa May has faced criticism over her response to the tragedy. She met with victims and community leaders at Downing Street earlier today. In a statement after that meeting, she acknowledged what many local people have been saying for days, that the initial response to this fire on Wednesday was not good enough. Jeremy Cook reports.
In the midsummer heat, Grenfell Tower casts a long shadow. A new dark reality on the London skyline, with the power to shock and to move. A sight which stops you in your tracks. Too much to take in.
It's hard to know what to say, yeah. It's just horrific.
We just said that everyone's busy talking, but yet you can just feel a silence. It's really overwhelming.
4 days on from disaster, and with every official update, more grim news.
Sadly, at this time, there are 58 people who we have been told were in Grenfell Tower on the night that are missing, and therefore, sadly, I have to assume that they are dead.
The investigations into how this happened will be complex and lengthy, but the Residents' Association for Grenfell Tower and the surrounding blocks is already calling for the council and its management agency to be suspended from their landlord's responsibility. Andrea Newton says the community felt ignored before the tragedy, neglected since, with no access to basic information.
Where is everyone? What are they getting next? Where are they going to move? What do they need? Who needs what and where?
These are fundamental questions, and we are days after this disaster.
I've done the angry. I've got to get this done.
Today, the residents brought those frustrations to Downing Street.
It was a robust discussion. There was forceful emotion in the room. People were able to say what they wanted to say, and we felt that was listened to and listened to carefully.
In a statement, the Prime Minister said, "Frankly, the support on the ground for families who needed help or basic information in the initial hours after this appalling disaster was not good enough." An analysis which chimes with the volunteers who've been working flat out to help victims in the absence of effective official support.
They've been completely let down, and it's the same people that potentially might have caused this that are now letting them down again, and it's tragic. And if it wasn't for the community here and the volunteers, I would dread to think what would have happened to those people.
The Prime Minister says she accepts that there are huge frustrations here, and she's promising to send more support into the area. It's the sort of help which is desperately needed, but this community could have used it days ago.
It's way too late.
But are you reassured by what Theresa May has said to you today?
Not right now. Not right now. No, I'm not. Not right now.
With so much pain and frustration here, there are warnings that government help must work with the community to avoid adding to frustration and anger. And high in Grenfell Tower, the operation to recover bodies goes on. A reminder of what's been lost and the scale of the task ahead. Jeremy Cook, BBC News, North Kensington.
Well, amid the anger, some are still trying to find answers about their missing relatives. The family of the first victim identified, a 23-year-old Syrian refugee, Mohammed al-Hajali, have just released this statement, saying Mohammed was a very amazing and kind person. He gave love to everyone. He came to the UK because he had ambitions and aims for his life and for his family. Our whole family will miss Mohammed dearly, and he will never be forgotten. Well, tonight, the Home Office has confirmed it will assist the family to travel to the UK from Syria. Mark Lowen has more on the search for the victims.
This is a tragedy that has shaken faith in safety, equality and justice. It has brought a tight community even closer, waiting still for any news of the missing. Dozens from Grenfell Tower are lost, faces from the floors that were engulfed as the fire rose. The anger and demands for accountability are growing.
It's always the public that runs to rescue. Where's the authorities? Where are they?
Forgotten corners of this area are becoming shrines to Grenfell, to grief, to frustration. As the days since the tragedy wear on, the hope of friends and families is fading. The only comfort now would be answers as to what happened. Instead, there's the pain of not knowing, though as time passes, more are presumed dead. Still missing 57-year-old Hisham Rahman, originally from Egypt. His mother and nephew fear the worst. Hisham called her shortly after 3 a.m. as the fire neared his top floor flat.
The last thing he said to my grandmother was, I had spoken to the police. I told them that the smoke was coming into my house, and they told me that they were coming. Close your door, put some wet towels on the floor. We're coming to get you. It's going to be all right. So he then said to my grandmother, once I'm out, I'll let you know that I'm okay.
How are you bearing up at the moment?
You know, we're all angry, we all want the same answers, we're all frustrated, but we really need to do it the right way. We all want to achieve the same thing, but not with aggression. It doesn't work. It never did, and it never will.
My son. I want him.
A mother who watched her son's nearby home turn to horror. One story among so many from the hell of Grenfell Tower. Mark Lowen, BBC News, North Kensington.
This is BBC News, the latest headlines. British Prime Minister Theresa May says support for people caught up in London's Grenfell Tower disaster wasn't good enough. 58 are missing, now presumed dead. Well, on Monday, all government buildings will hold a minute's silence at 11 a.m. And today, the Queen has observed a minute's silence at the Trooping of the Colour parade. It's in memory of those who died in the Grenfell Tower tragedy and also in recent attacks in Manchester and London. On what is her official birthday, she said it was difficult to escape the very sombre national mood. Our royal correspondent Nicholas Witchell reports.
On a day intended for celebration, the Queen led the nation in sorrow. Before leaving Buckingham Palace for Horse Guards, she stood with the Duke of Edinburgh for a minute's silence. A moment of reflection, joined by the Foot Guards on the parade ground and the cavalry at the palace gates, in remembrance of those lost at Grenfell Tower and in the terrorist attacks in London and Manchester. In a statement issued at 6 o'clock this morning, the Queen said, "Today is traditionally a day of celebration. This year, however, it is difficult to escape a very sombre national mood." Yesterday she'd visited the scene of the fire at Grenfell Tower and met some of those who've lost friends and neighbours. It had clearly made a deep impression. In her statement she said, "I have been profoundly struck by the immediate inclination of people throughout the country to offer comfort and support to those in desperate need." She went on, "Put to the test, the United Kingdom has been resolute in the face of adversity." Her birthday parade went ahead. It had all the familiar components. The Foot Guards marched and trooped the colour of the Irish Guards. And the royal family appeared on the palace balcony, where Prince George, as usual, stole the show, gazing down at the crowds, and then as the RAF flypast appeared, up at the sky with his sister. But this was no ordinary trooping. This was a year when the head of state reflected the country's feelings of shock and grief. Nicholas Witchell, BBC News, at Buckingham Palace.